Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's 10 o'clock, and I would like to welcome you all to this webinar where we are going to learn more on how to enter the French market. But before we start off, I would like to inform you that this webinar will be recorded, which we hope is okay with everyone. My name is Astrid Hackel, and together with me here are my colleagues Anita Sindberg and Heidi Olsson, and we are representing the Swedish cluster Sustainable Business Hub, which is one of the partners in the project SMEBeyond, which is the host of this webinar today. Unfortunately, we are not able to let everyone present themselves, but you are all welcome to write a short introduction in the chat. Now I got the help of my colleague Lais here to change pictures, so I would like her to change to the next picture, please. Thank you. Here comes the agenda for today. It looks like this. After this short intro, we will listen to Victor Klein, Chargé d'Affaires at Business France, who will give us an introduction to the French market and how to enter it efficiently. He will also briefly talk about how finding business partners in France and give us some tips and insights. After that, we will listen to Arthur Dervier, founder and CEO of the company Loretta, and he will share his experiences of establishing the result of a Danish research on the French market. And after these two presentations, we will open up for questions and discussions. So please, everyone, save your questions until then. And if you're afraid of forgetting what you wanted to ask, you can always write your questions in the chat. And after that, we will have a short wrap-up and final remarks. But what is the SMEBeyond project all about? Let's have a look at the next picture. Thank you. It's a 3-year project co-founded by the Interreg South Baltic, and the overall objective is to help small and medium-sized companies within the blue and green sectors to grow and expand internationally. The partners in this project come from Lithuania, Poland, Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. And the activities that we are planning for in this project include matchmaking sessions, delegations, cross-border collaborations with small and medium-sized enterprises and other stakeholders, and development of tools to support internationalization. But now over to our speakers of today. And we will start with Victor Klein. Sorry, sorry for that, Lais. And we will start off with Victor Klein at Business France, who will give us an introduction to the French market, how to enter it efficiently, and how to find funding opportunities and partners. The floor
Thanks a lot.
is yours.
Thanks a lot, Astrid. That's very nice of you. And thank you for having me today. I will now share my presentation. Can everybody see the first slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. But thank you, Astrid, and thank you, everyone. I have 25 minutes, and I will stop at 10:30 on the spot to give the mic to Arthur, so he can also showcase the great success of Loretta coming to France. So who am I? My name is Victor Klein. I'm a Chargé d'Affaires Invest for Denmark and South Sweden, working at Business France. And you can find my email address here, and I believe the slides will be shared with you after the meeting, so you can always find my email address and send me an email if you have questions or any type of things you want answered. So who are we, Business France? Business France, we are the national agency in charge of the internationalization of the French economy. Basically, we have two main legs. We have export from France, which helps French SMEs mostly export abroad. And we have us, Invest in France, who help foreign companies either come for the first time to France or keep on doing their expansion in France. We help from startup to major, huge companies, often startups, scale-ups, SMEs. We help them with coming into the country for the first time. Bigger company, we also provide a political support, understanding tax credits, financial incentives. It's really a broad range of activities we provide to different companies. And I want to say that everything we do, Business France, the Invest in France department, is completely free for foreign companies and is also confidential. So everything we share, we can sign NDAs, everything we do together is confidential and free. Why? Because we have three parent ministries, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Economy Ministry, and the Ministry of Territory Cohesion. And that gave us that mission to help foreign companies come to France. Who we are, we have an HQ in Paris, but we have 74 offices in 55 countries. Here, we cover the 8 countries of the Nordic and Baltic zone, with our 2 main offices where we have invest activities in Stockholm and Copenhagen, but we cover the 8 countries. We also travel and we do a lot of online meetings. But if you're also from another country than those 8, let's say Poland or Germany, and you have a project or you need help to come to France, please do still send me an email, because we have colleagues based in those zones that will be able to help you, and we can really do some great connections. If you're from one of those 8 countries and you need more help after the seminar, please do get in touch with me and we'll provide help directly. So what do we do at Business France? And it's not that we just want to showcase what do we do, but like what do we do is also what you need to do to come to France in the best potential way. So often I will showcase what we do, but often it really matches the types of activities that you need to entertain to enter the market successfully. We inform companies about what's happening in France. So that might be new tax credits, new call for tenders, new opportunities. We really want to showcase to foreign companies what is happening in France and why is France attractive. We connect you, and I'll come back to this in a second, because we have a huge network, and I think that's really interesting for you as SMEs from foreign countries. We have a huge network of regional partners, and we fast track. We make sure to help you feel, let's say, if you want to apply for a tender, we have experts in our HQ in Paris that will make you that will make you understand how to do it fast. We will find you the right, let's say, lawyers, all types of services that can help you go faster into coming to France. That if you think about the types of services we offer, it goes from helping you open an entity, finding offices, recruiting, finding great clusters to be a part of, attending events, meeting with local public actors, and all of this we do for free. If, however, we recommend a lawyer to help you or a consultant, I believe often the first hour is free, but then you might have to pay for their specific services. We don't do this alone. We do this with the regional development agencies, and they are great partners to be aware of. So basically, us Business France, we're in Paris, we're in Marseille, and we are abroad. We're mainly abroad. We want to be your one-stop shop if you have a question for France or if you want to explore France as a market. But in metropolitan France and overseas too, we have regions. In metropolitan France, we have 13 regions, and each and every single region has a regional development agency, and we work hand in hand with them. So basically, if we were to accompany a project, let's say towards Paris, where you want to create an entity to have a commercial office, to be able to sell your products or your services to French companies or French or foreign companies based in France, we will do it hand in hand with the Choose Paris Region Development Agency. They'll be the one offering you offices to visit. They'll be inviting you to great events in the Paris region. And this is what will happen with any of those development agencies. So that they're very great partners to have, and they know their regions really well. Just a broader word around France. For the last 5 years, I haven't put 2024 right now. That still needs to happen. But for the last 5 years, France has been the main receiver in Europe of foreign direct investments. And I think that's really relevant because the real showcase, I think, from 2017 was the start of this new trend. a big change both into the real attractivity of France, but also into its perceived attractivity from foreign investors. And that means we've also had the most foreign direct investments to create AI research centers. We've had the most foreign direct investment to create research centers as a whole. And I'll come back to this. There's a good reason. And why is it interesting for you as an SME? Because France, first of all, is a big market, the second biggest market in Europe with 70 million people, but there's also a lot of activity. There's foreign companies, there's national companies. As an SME, there will be actors, major actors, to whom you can sell your services or products. So if we think about the French market as a whole, as I said, it's the second biggest market in Europe, in the EU, let's say. What about French? Because that's a question we get a lot. What about speaking French when you're in France? So if you're just looking at selling or distributing services from abroad, you might be somewhat successful with an English speaker in your office. I would highly recommend to hire a French speaker, but I would highly recommend to have foot on the ground in France that do speak French and can travel around the country. Because people do speak English a lot better than, I would say, the perceived reality of us speaking English is. People do speak great English. But of course, if you really want to be successful and sell and exploit the markets to its fullest, not everyone will speak English perfectly. Some people will speak good English, let's say conversationally, but they will want to sign their contracts, obviously, in French, and they will want to have commercial discussions, maybe more technical, around legal terms in French. And in that sense, you need someone you can trust on your team that also speaks French, in my opinion, to lead this. If we look about the administration and procedures, there was a lot of red tape in France before. It's been a huge improvement, I want to say. We're really trying to streamline everything, especially since 2017 and our new President Macron took office at that time. There's been a huge change, and we hope that foreign companies also feel it. I think what's really interesting when you look at France too, let's say compared to the biggest market in the EU, which is Germany, is that it's a very centralized market. We do have region, but they have, let's say, different powers and the lenders in Germany. Especially if you're in the health sector, where health is mainly a lender responsibility, in France, we have a fully centralized market. Just to give you an idea, in France, we have for digital health startups and bigger companies, we have something called a PCAM program. So if you enter the market with a digital health app, you can get refunded throughout your first year of activity before you even get the agreement. And that's only possible because we have a centralized market that applies on the whole of the territory for the health sector. So I think it's really something to keep in mind, that it's 70 million people they can access at once. You don't have to do several, let's say, procedures. And it's a dense ecosystem. There are many regions. In each regions, you have clusters, you have federations. And that's also why I would really highly recommend coming to the French markets with a physical presence. It's because it will take you, I would say, a good 6 months to understand, okay, this is a public actor, this is a private actor, this is a semi-public, semi-private actor. Those are the universities I want to speak with. Just if we look at the Paris-Saclay University and its ecosystem south of Paris, which is a huge research center, it is extremely dense, and you want to be on the ground. You want to meet with people to understand who is who and who does what. In terms of cultural differences from France to, let's say, the Nordic countries that I know quite well, and Denmark, obviously you need to be on time like everywhere. But if you're in a meeting, I know in Denmark, from my experience, if it's an half-an-hour meeting, the meeting will end after half an hour. In France, we'll just keep on till the issue is fixed or we finish discussing what we had to discuss. In terms of dress code, the dress code is definitely more formal in France than in the Nordic countries. I think I only see that type of formal dress code in the Nordic countries when I go into a banking environment often or a financial environment. In France, it's definitely more formal everywhere. And therefore, we definitely think about this. And there's definitely, when we look at hierarchy, a much stronger focus on hierarchy. There's been a huge evolution, I would say, especially since COVID and remote work. This is evolving, but like if you think in the Nordic country, a manager is here to give you an objective and support your work and be there for you. A manager will be more there to check your work in France in that sense and be more on top of you. And obviously what I'm saying is a generalization. It's not everywhere true, but there's definitely a stronger focus on hierarchy, and you need to find the right interlocutors when you're speaking to a French company. And finally, I want to say we are a very industrial country. We really value innovation. We have so many research centers, national, university-based, and a huge pool, we'll come back to this, of engineers. I think if it's not the biggest in Europe, it probably is. So if we look at France and ecosystems, and I know you guys come from 3 different fields, and I've got a next slides to broach this, but there are, as I mentioned, a lot of clusters, a lot of ecosystems, and you can see them. They're classified by color, and obviously you will receive those slides. But there's a lot of great people. Often I would say, if you want to sell something, maybe don't approach a company directly. Approach like the cluster or the federation that might have a full list of members that would be interested in your product, and with them you could do, let's say, an event, or you could do a webinar like here today, to touch a broader base of members. I think it's really important to know who those actors are. One thing I really want to touch upon is if you're an innovative company, we have maybe the most attractive R&D tax credit in France, which is of up to 30% on up of 100 million euros spent a year. So it's actively used, especially by healthcare companies, because that represents a large sum of money you can get back in tax credit the next year, or if you don't pay tax off yet, in hard cash. So that's pretty good for people who want to develop their R&D. And that's something I really want to touch upon about the French market, is like, I don't think the French market should only be seen as a market to sell produces, services. The French market can also be a great base for you to expand your companies, to grow your companies for other markets, because we have extremely interesting tax credits for R&D, as we're seeing right now, but we have a wealth of tax credits and financial incentives, both at national and regional level, that can help your company grow, not just to sell on the French markets, but to become a larger player that will then expand globally. Like, it is a good base to have, let's say, a co-HQ with your own country. So yeah, I know you guys come from 3 different fields, let's say, roughly, and we've tried in this slide to highlight a few clusters that would be relevant to you. And once you receive the presentation, you'll be able to click. We've put all the websites on there, so you don't have to find them yourselves. And I think those are maybe great intro points to better understand who could be your next partner, your next distributor, your next client. If we come back into, like, let's say, the broader attractivity of France, there's been a major shift in corporate tax. So it's gone down from 2017 to 2022 by 8 percentage points. So we used to be one of the higher taxed country in Europe, and now we're very much in the average onto company revenue tax. Another point that's quite interesting, so why is it useful for you, this slide? We also really help with the region to find not just obviously offices, warehouses, small useful places to set up, but we also help companies, and often for bigger companies, but it's also relevant for SMEs, and I'll tell you what for in a second, to find green or brownfield industrial sites where you can settle, let's say, if you want to do a first factory. We have a very useful website called here France Foncier Plus, where all the economic land available is listed. So that's really useful for investors to see where could they go. But what I want to say is, if you ever have a project to develop from a very small factory to a bigger factory, don't hesitate. And that could be also a logistics center or an R&D center. Don't hesitate to send us your specifications. They're confidential, and that could just be a few lines. We need, I don't know, 15,000 meters square. To put a factory of that type, there will be 2 chimneys, and we need 50 employees and that type of electricity level. It doesn't have to be big, because then we can really look with the regions to come back to you, so you don't have to do the work. We can come back with the regions and say, okay, those are the 3 sites which we think suits you the best. And as an SME, you might not be at that stage already, but you might want to develop your first of a kind factory. I love the term. And France can be a great place to do it. And often people think think of Business France when they have a project, let's say targeting towards France, with that we're going to go to France now. We need help with this project. I want to say we can really help ahead of that. If you have a project, but you don't know where it's going to be, is it going to be in your own country? Is it going to be in Germany, in the US? Just get in touch at that point, because if you give us the specifications, we can really come back to you with a lot of help in terms of what are the financial incentives available, are there any sites available for your specific projects at the ideation part of your process, so that you can make the best decision for your next project. A few things. RTE is the biggest transmission operator for electricity in Europe. It's quite big. We have the second biggest high-speed rail lines network, I believe, behind Spain. So it's also a country where if you have factories, or let's say if you want to meet clients, I would say the furthest point you get is Toulouse, and that's a 4-hour train ride, and you're crossing like over 1,000 kilometers. So that's pretty fast. From Paris, obviously, if you're in Toulouse, that's faster. But that's a really good incentive to have an office in France, is you can get everywhere in France really fast. If we speak about you as a talent, if you want to come to France, we have this amazing website that's held by Business France called Welcome to France. It's all about visas. So if you're in the European Union, obviously it's very easy. If you're in Switzerland, Norway, same. But if you're outside of the EU or you want to bring talents, we can really help you with this, with the Welcome to France website. We want to make sure it's easy for you to bring talents to France, but obviously we have a major pool to hire from directly in France. If we look about the market, it's 1.2 million engineers. So if you have industrial or innovative projects, there is a massive pool of talented people in France that are ready to help and ready to work for you. I will also touch about a few interesting things for you as a foreign companies to leverage France. Is that we have the France 2030 plan. It's a 54 billion innovation plan to input money into the economy, half for the decarbonation of the economy and half to help younger player emerge. And I think that really applies to you guys as an SME. Right now, 34 billion have been committed, but that means there is still 20 billion euros of money, of public money, to be had. Most of that money is distributed through the PPI, the Public Investment Bank, but there's also through the different ministries. There's a lot of call to tenders you can exploit online. But to come back to the importance of speaking French, most of those ministry websites or the tenders, they're all going to be in French. So if you want to leverage public money for your company, in that sense, you will need to speak French. Another very interesting tax credit, it's if you want to implement a wind, solar, battery, or heat pump factory, you can get between 150 to 200 million euros in tax credits for your investment projects. I will jump, I can see time is running, so I kind of want to get into the next part of my presentation that will be much shorter. Just to tell you who can help you into your development in France. We have obviously us, but we have the different ministries. We have France Travail, if you're looking for workers, they're the National Employment Agency, and you have BPI France here. BPI, they are the National Investment Bank, very similar to EFO, if you're a Danish partner. They're here to really put money in the economy to make sure we future-proof France. In 2023, they've put 63 billion euros into the economy, 9.4 billion towards R&D and innovation. And if you think about this, that's money that's there for the taking. But you have to be a French entity. You have to have a French entity. You can be a foreign company, but you have to be a French entity with at least a year of existence to leverage the PPI money. And now I'll just use the last 5 minutes to look more into the details of like, how does it look to have a business in France? So just to come back, I've told you a lot about like how to enter the market with an entity. I just want to have a word also about finding an agent or a distributor. That's the one thing we don't do at Business France, because we accompany companies that have a, let's say, an investment project. If you're looking to sell your produces or your services from your home base, I would say hire a French person in your country. We are many abroad. There are French people everywhere. But if you want to understand better, get some market research, find some partners, definitely speak with, let's say, the Business France equivalents in your own country. I know in Sweden, it's Business Sweden, Business Finland. In Denmark is the Trade Council. They're amazing. So if you're a Danish company and you want to sell in France without going to France, and you're in the energy, the health, or the defense sector, send me an email and I'll put you in touch with the right contact at the Trade Council. They are based often in their embassies in Paris, and they really have a good understanding of the market, and they're there to help you to, let's say, find clients. If you don't want to have a base in the country, if you want to have a base in the country, they will also help you, but we can also help you. Why setting up a business? That's quite important, and I will just jump to the three type of businesses you can have in France as a foreign company. You can have a liaison office, you can have a branch, or you can have a full subsidiary, which is a legally independent entity in the country that can sign contracts. And I think that's really important to say. And the thing is, opening a liaison office doesn't stop you from having a branch or a subsidiary, because at any time you can change and evolve the type of company you have in the market. If we look at the pros and cons, let's say you just want to be a bit in the market, but you're not sure right now if you want to start hiring, if you want to start opening a full entity, then you can open a liaison office. However, you will not be able to sign contracts in the country on behalf of the foreign company. The foreign company will have to do that themselves. Let's say. You'll be able to speak with potential partners, understand the market. So it's a great place to start. Your address, the address of the liaison office, will still be the address, funnily enough, of your own company in your home country. Then you can evolve into a branch. So you can start doing a lot more, hire staff, open a bank account, have a proper legal address in France, which will reassure your partners, just because partners will check who you are. But you still can't use any of that public money I was speaking about. And then the biggest form is the subsidiary. So you're a fully French entity, obviously held by a foreign company. And that gives you the capacity to do everything: recruit, enter contracts, apply for French original financial incentive. And I want to say that really gives you all the flexibility you need to lead a great campaign in the French market, either to sell your products and your services, or just to grow your company, have R&D, have manufacturing, have logistic in the country. That's you really want to be a subsidiary, and that's where really we can help you. And to start helping you, we don't need much, half an hour, a few lines around the specifications of what you're looking for. I need an office of that size with that many people. Really, we can start with not much and really tailor the answer we have to you as we move along. Yeah, I think there was to sum up, there was 3 types of company. You will get the slides with a major annex. I want to say I've put 30 slides in the annex. The first part of the annex is more tax credits, more details. And the second part of the annex corresponds to the second part of the presentation, where there's a lot of details about how to create a company, different legal obligations, really for you to have a good understanding of how to start that. But thank you, everyone. I can see it's 10:29, and I'll hand the mic over back to Astrid to then hand it over to Arthur. Thank you, everyone, and I'm open to questions afterward.
Thank you, Victor. That was really excellent, just on time, and very interesting. Thank you ever so much. And now I will leave the floor to Arthur Devier, the founder of the company Loretta, a company having developed a skin nanotexture analysis and established a Danish research on the French market. Please tell us about your experiences, Arthur.
So, hi everyone. Thanks for this great presentation of the French market, Victor, and thanks for the invitation to let me share my experience as a young startup on the French market. So I precise that we are, so yes, a young startup that come from Denmark, and we are fully registered in France. And so I will explain what happened and why we choose France, and how we join the French market. So first thing, to quickly explain what are we doing. So at Loretta, we are doing skin analysis. So the principle, I will not go into the detail of the technology for sure, but we are working with some researchers from the Danish Technical University that have developed a miniaturized version of a big research system that is really complex and difficult to use, and he miniaturized it and making it extremely accessible and useful for dermatological research. This is combined to an AI that we develop, and with those two, we are able to do some dermatologic analysis. So that means we will scan the surface of the skin cells, and from this, we will extract a lot of information about the state of your skin, your health in general, and other stuff. So those technology has been developed in the medical research, the health tech research, because that's part of the health tech department at DTU. So that means that's been funded for medical, it has some medical recognition with some papers that are already published. But entering the medical market was difficult for us, for Loretta, because there is a lot of restriction. So what are those restrictions right now is the quantity of data that we need to train our AI and to improve our technology before entering this market. So we made the choice to not enter directly the medical market and the health tech market, but rather than this, entering the cosmetic market. And this choice of market, so cosmetic rather than medical health tech, has been one of the first reason of why we choose France more than Denmark. So right now we have two parts in Loretta. The first part is some research that is in Denmark at DTU, DTU Health Tech, with two of our co-founder and associate that are professor and PhD that developed the device. This is the research part of our startup Loretta. And we have the startup that is registered in France at Chartres, so just below Paris, that I will explain more in detail why we went there. And here we have the three other co-founders. Me, I'm part of the three, and we are taking care of everything else that is not the research. And between the two, we have a lot of, for sure, of meeting together, and we are sharing the technology that are developed from the Danish side to the French company through patent exploitation with the university. So right now, our situation is that we are registered in France. We have some first clients in France that are French company. We also discuss with some Belgian company and Switzerland company. And we plan to expand after and to start to reach some client in Europe. So Denmark for sure, because we already have some connection there, but also Germany, England, Spain, Italy, everywhere that can be interesting for us. We are a B2B company, so we are mostly working with cosmetic laboratory and dermatological laboratory. So we can really work quite everywhere. And on a more long-term vision, we would like to go from B2B to B2C and start to sell our device so everyone can access easily some skin analysis to choose the best skincare or to have some pre-diagnostic for their skin. So the question is why we choose France and why we choose the French market. So all this story, all the Loretta projects start in 2023 when I have met the researcher that I showed just before, and we have started to we have chosen to start this company Loretta on the cosmetic market, and not the medical, because we want to expand and to go somewhere with less restriction, as I explained before. From this when we have chosen this market, we had the opportunity to have an event, the first event organized by the university, by DTU, in June 2024. And during this meeting, I had the opportunity to be introduced to Victor from Business France, and we had some discussion about the different clusters in France and why it could be interesting for Loretta to be registered in France rather than Denmark. And we have been super interesting because in the team of the 5 co-founders, we were already 3 French people. So for us, France was already a good option because we are French, we are speaking the French, so a lot of things were good for France, but we didn't have any other argument than this. So Victor introduced me to what we call the Cosmetic Valley, that is a cluster in France in the health tech cluster that he showed during his presentation, so just below Paris. And we have been put in contact with this cluster to see how Loretta could enter the French market, how it could be interesting for us, and for the cosmetic market that we want to reach. So during the summer of 2024, we had the opportunity to discuss a lot with the different organizations of this cluster. The first one has been the local network that's called DevUp Centre Val de Loire. That is a regional network that helped us a lot to understand what was the best position for us to adopt to enter the cosmetic market, and they gave us also a lot of good advice about who to join. There is in France, as Victor said, a lot of specialized cluster and also a lot of specialized incubator. So there is a lot of startup incubator, and we had a recommendation from this local network, DevUp, to a specialized incubator that's called The Place, that especially is located in the Cosmetic Valley. So they have a lot of contact to the cosmetic industry, to the health tech industry in general. And for us, that was perfect because that was what we were looking for. And because it's our first startup, joining an incubator for the registration of the startup was easier for us to understand everything. And from this, we joined the incubator in September of 2024, and we registered the company in December of 2024. This company, so named Loretta, registered in France. We have been taking care of all the administrative work, and from the help of the local network and the startup incubator, we had a lot of event and conference on cosmetic, on health tech, on intellectual property, on innovation in general, because we are really like, Loretta is a startup focused on the innovation and research. And so that's something that is really put forward in France. There is a lot of help, there is a lot of event conference, there is a lot of funding to help innovation. So for us, joining this cluster was extremely helpful to having access to those specialized events and funding. And that's why we chose to register there. So we registered in December, and now we have our first client. And that's how the story of Loretta starts, now that we are open. So now let's talk a little bit about what are the advantages, what are the drawbacks of joining the French market. I think that Victor already presents really well some advantage and drawbacks, and so some of them are really similar to what he said. So the first thing is that I present those pros and cons from the point of view of an innovation startup and a B2B startup. For sure, I think the advantage will be different for a startup, for a company that is not at all in the innovation or the research center. So yeah, first thing. Government, since 2017, has put in place a lot of help for innovative startup, innovative company, a lot of help, a lot of funding, a lot of event, especially through the BPI bank that give a lot of subvention that are extremely important, especially when you are a small startup that want to enter this French market. Second thing that is especially applied for us in the cosmetic is the brand reputation and the consumer base. France is quite known for this reputation about cosmetic and health tech. So for us, that was a really good advantage to join the French market, because cosmetic from France and cosmetic industry is extremely expanded in France, and that's the same for a lot of other clusters. And those clusters, those specialized clusters and organization all over the country are really an enormous advantage to join, because you will talk with people that are specialized into your subject and that will be here to help you, to guide you over the different funding that you can access or not, the different events that you should go or not. So they are really helping a lot. And Loretta would not have been able to win that fast from research to market without the help of this cluster and the startup incubator. I like to say that our journey is really a good example of how all the administrative gear can work together, because from the introduction to Business France with Victor in June 2024 and the registration of the startup in December, it has been really fast, and we really went from, okay, first we meet someone at the national level, Business France, then someone at the regional level, DevUp, and then we meet the startup incubator at the cluster level, if I can say. That really guide us now, and we still work with them. That's really great. But for sure, it's not perfect, or there is some drawback, there is some cons to work in the French market that are similar to what Victor already present. First is the complex regulatory environment. Even if it's much better now, a lot of stuff are completely automatized. So it's really easy to do all the administrative work and everything. That can be still really dense. So it's something to know, especially when it's for really small company. The second thing is the language and the cultural barrier. As Victor present, it's important to have someone in your team that speak French, because they will ask you a lot of stuff in French, a lot of form to fill will be in French. So yeah, all those things are really important. And the last thing is the competitive market landscape, especially if you are not a French company. French people, if you are going for B2C, French people like the made in France logo, if I can say. So that can be important to really focus, if you open a subsidiary in France, to really focus on your production that is made from France, because people and clients will be really reactive to this kind of argument. And my best hint to enter the French market would be those two things. So first, don't hesitate to contact the local networks, because they will really help you and they are here to help you. And the second thing is the language and communication. You need to have someone that speaks French, and if you can have an associate that is directly French, that will also open you to much more fundings, because some fundings are only for French people. So having someone that is French in your team that rules the subsidiaries can really help you to get more funding, to fill the form more easily, and yeah, to enter the market more easily, I would like to say. So yeah, so thanks for listening to me. It was a small presentation about my journey over the French market, and yeah.
Thank you, Asa. That was not a small presentation. It was a very interesting presentation, and also to hear about your fast journey, nearly with TGV, the fast trains in France, you could say. Mm-hmm. But now we'll open up the floor for everyone to ask questions and discuss with the speakers. Could you please let everyone join now, Lais? So everyone has the possibility to ask a question. Yes. Great, thank you. You may also put on your cameras if you want to.
You're also more than welcome to write on chat if you have any questions.
I can start off with a question to make it going here. You touched upon it, Arthur. You said the magic word regulations. Yeah. And we have regulations in every country. Maybe my question is more for Victor and Gilles. where do I turn to find out what regulations are applicable to just my products or my services or my company?
I think in that sense, the first to turn to would be a cluster that will know your type of products or services. But at the end of the day, hire a lawyer. If you want to know the regulation, don't have someone who's got insurance who can really tell you in their specific field, this is what you need.
Okay. And it's the cluster or you being able to advise me what lawyer to hire?
So business friends, not us directly, but if we send your project down to a region, let's say you settle in Paris, they have a list of approved law firms, consultants, that there's a call for tender for lawyers to apply, to be on their books. Then there's a review, and that's for all the regions. So they really review the law firms, the consultants, and then they are on their books. So if you have a specific need, they can recommend people that are basically the best in their field. Maybe it's very easy. Open the entity, open a bank account, but maybe it's more complex, and they'll be the one able to recommend you a good legal presence.
Okay, that sounds assuring. Thank you.
Maybe I can add also, because your question was about regulation in your specific field on a line of businesses. You will find regulation on the website, on the ministry website, both in French and in English. But as Victor says, if you want to go further and to dig into it, then it will take a lot of a little bit more time, and then you will need to have some guidance to better understand what it is about and how I can make the regulation on my side, or how I can go further with this. So, but the first information you should be able to find it on the internet, on the ministry's website.
Mhm.
And there is a lot of association as well, and federation cluster that are willing to help.
Mhm. Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else has a question to our speakers? Don't be
I have
shy.
a question.
Yes, please.
So I want to know if there is because you mentioned different ministries have pools for funds for companies and everything. And I want to know if there is like a specific website that we can go, like for instance, for call for challenges for companies. So like this city in France is looking for innovative solution for solar panels, for instance. So just giving a general example, is that a common practice in France? Because in some countries, this is a way that it's an interesting way to bring foreign investment more attractive to companies.
Not that I know of, which would be a fantastic idea to have one-stop shop for all type of tenders. I don't know of anyone right now. The one where you'll find the most call for tenders and the more financement incentives is definitely the BPI website, the Banque Publique d'Investissement. I think that's where you'll have they're the one distributing the more money. Therefore, they will be the one with the more projects on their website. And often, if you have a ministry spearheading a specific project, if the money comes from BPI, it will also be on their website. The second one we hear a lot about is ADEME, so ADEME. ADEME is the National Ecological and Decarbonation Agency. So right now we speak a lot about it because we're helping a lot of industrial partners decarbonize their industrial sites, and all the money for this comes from the ADEME website and tenders. And then obviously, and that's a bit of we should find a better solution, I agree. Then it goes down and it trickles down to the regions, the cities. Speak with your regional partners, speak with Business France, because we have experts. In a sense, the website is Business France, if I can say that. Because if you have a specific need, our experts will know them. And the same way, I can think of if you have a specific need at a regional level, the regional experts will know them. But of course, you have to have a conversation with us, and we have to help you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Right. Any more questions? Yeah, we have something here from Cécile Blogsar.
Yes, I will do that. I will just write them first, just the name, and then I will, after the call is ended, I will take the time to write them here. But if you Google this on Google, they will come straight up.
Okay.
And I would like to remind that the presentations and the recording of the meeting will be shared as well to all the participants. So you have the names and the links and everything.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, boy.
Well,
I have no question as such, but I would like just to say thank you. I think it was a very interesting topic that you discussed here. So I reserve the right to return if I get any questions further ahead. But thank you very much.
thank you, Marcus. And as Lais mentioned, you will receive the presentations, and there are the contact data to our speakers if something comes up later. Do we have any other questions?
Maybe one question from me.
Yes.
Thanks for the presentations. It was super interesting. I was just curious, maybe either of these BPI and DEM or other public funding, did your company also have experience with them? And yeah, how was the experience if you made use of any of these public funding?
So yes, we are currently in discussion with BPI. So from them, we already obtained what we call the deep tech status. So it's something because we are doing innovative research. So we have a label now that allows us to obtain bigger funding from BPI. And right now we have submit a research project to them that we are in course of validation. So we are waiting, and we also get some special loan with zero interest, so special startup loan from the region or from the department, so from the cluster. So yeah, right now we already had a lot of help from them, and they were all really kindly and help us to also like perfectionate our business plan or this kind of stuff, because we are a young startup that really starts.
May I just take also to come up and there is what we presented also is a national incentives and grant and scheme, but you have to know that in each region you have also a regional scheme, and it's not possible to have all these schemes listed in one document because they are changing every year after the budget. But for SMEs and very small and startup, the regions offer often special dedicated teams to a scheme to boost your partner, to boost your launch in France. And I think it's also of great interest to have a look.
Great. There's still time for yet another question. Well, then I'll take the opportunity if no one else does. Could one see France as a starting point for entering other markets? Like if you've done it in France, you can do it everywhere.
I really think so. I think that was I was trying to touch upon in the presentation is we have such a pool of talents to help you grow your company, not just to be a market, but to be a home base, a second home base. And I think if you speak about the French language, obviously Belgium, Switzerland, a huge amount of African markets too, Canada. It's also a place from which you can have bilingual or trilingual speakers. A lot of Spanish speakers are in France also that speak fluent Spanish, French, English. So it's a really good home base to have, let's say, international expansion from Europe, especially if you look about, let's say, Denmark. Denmark has got an unemployment rate of like 2.3%, which is a great news for the country, but which is an issue for Danish companies because they really find it hard to hire and recruit talents. So you need a second location to then enter markets where maybe you're going to be able to produce research at a lower, let's say, lower talent cost, and also where there's a broader pool of people that are available right now.
Great, thank you. Well, if something comes up, as mentioned already, you will get the presentations, and there is the contact data to our speakers. But now it's time to wrap up, and I would like Lais, who's already one step ahead of me, to jump down into the presentation to the next picture. If you want to learn more about the project SMEBeyond, the host of this webinar today, or if you want to learn more about how to enter the UK, the US and Canada, or the South Baltic region, we are arranging a total of 4. It looks like 3 here, but it's actually 4 different webinars within the next 6 or 7 weeks. So if you want to register for these webinars, either click on the QR code or use the QR code, or click on the link for our LinkedIn page, where you also can find other information about the project and what we are doing within the project. I would also like to take the opportunity in this context to mention ICN Solutions, which is a network of innovators where you can find and engage with international opportunities, connect with like-minded. You can also be a part, thank you, of an online ecosystem and gain access to other small and medium-sized companies, large corporations, universities, experts, and so on. So don't miss out on this opportunity. If you want to register to ICN Solutions, please use the QR code here at the bottom of the picture. And at last, but not at least, here are our contact information. All the colleagues working within this project in the different countries. Do not hesitate to reach out to us if you want to know more about the project or how to get engaged in the project, or just know what we are doing, or you want to discuss in general global expansion. So now it is time to say goodbye. Thank you all for participating, and especially a great thank you to our speakers for sharing valuable insights and thoughts with us today. In a day or two, my colleague Lais, which has helped me with the pictures, will send you an email with the presentations and also a link to a short survey. And we will be very happy if you could fill in this survey and give us your feedback on today's webinar. So thank you. Goodbye to everyone and have a nice Tuesday.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bonne journée, au revoir.
Thank you. Bye.
No, it's only Scott still there.